Hello, I'm the talking shoe. I'm the talking shoe. What do you want? Well, today's little bit of wisdom is, listen. It's always better to listen than to talk. This is a little bit of wisdom from the talking shoe. Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com, and this is episode 133 of the Sophie Art podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. And at the moment there's quite a lot of negative thoughts floating around in my head, but I'm just, what are they saying? They're saying that my voice is horrible. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? And I think that's because I haven't been meditating as much lately. I meditated yesterday, but what I've noticed is if I don't keep on top of my meditation, the negative thoughts seem to get more powerful. Somebody's at the door. Somebody's at the door. I think that's my new shoes. Watch this. Yay, new shoes. I got some new shoes, baby. New shoes, baby. Because if you're watching on YouTube, at youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, look at the state. Well, you can see my trousers. Because I'm wearing my work trousers. And the thing with my work trousers, but it's the same as my work shoes. My work shoes are falling apart. Because what I do is, I like to wear clothes until they're basically, these shoes are, I've never had a pair of shoes this bad before, but I've got a new pair of work shoes now, but these are so comfortable. But little Dennis is here, he's here with us today. I love little Dennis, he's my friend, little Dennis is my friend. And little Kitty's here with us as well. She's still got her titties, and she is still pregnant. So she's actually resting. She needs to have a lot of rest today. Little Dennis is looking after her. So let's get into this one. Doing. It's a little boinky one because Kitty was in her house. Let's put little Dennis in with his lover. Oh, look, looking cute. You can find show notes and everything at sophielawson.com, because I don't know if there'll be many for this one. Because, well, this one is going to be all over the place. It's going to be one of those brain dump episodes, I think. And the main topics are going to be, it's going to sort of be like a bit of burnout, talking about burnout, addiction, and video games, bad habits and stuff like that. So that's what it's going to be. But I've got something else as well, which, when I was at work this morning, I came up with this idea. And it goes into this week's Inspirational Quote, which is a bit weird, because I only found out about the Inspirational Quote when I got home. So basically, what I put on a little piece of paper, a paper towel from work. What I do is I come up with ideas at work. I just quickly scribble them down while I'm working. So what I put here is Why I Love series. So what I'm going to do is, on my YouTube, every so often, probably I'm going to try to do once a month. I don't want it to be once a week because it would be too much work. And this sort of goes into the burnout thing. The burnout is because you're doing too much. So I want this to be once a month, but it doesn't have to be once a month. But it's a video series. It's going to be called Why I Love. So what it's going to be is Why I Love, and then I can put whatever I want in there. So one of them might be Why I Love Tomb Raider. I think that's going to be the first one, which is a video game. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the video game Tomb Raider and talk about why I love it so much and stuff. But I thought to myself, it could also be Why I Love Yoshi. So I could talk about the character. Or it could be Why I Love a certain anime, Madoka Magica. Or it could be Why I Love an art book. Or why I love one of my art tools. In other words, all the things I love, like video games, art, it could be an artist. So why I love Ilya Kafshanov. And what I'm going to do is, well, I get really excited about this. Because what I've noticed is on my YouTube, it's sort of gone all into, all it is, it's just books. It's all art books, which I love art books, but I want to have a bit more variety, I suppose. Yeah. Again, I think this is because when you hit a burnout, it makes you start questioning everything you're doing. So even though it's a really negative thing, when you're in this burnout thing, it's also a really positive thing. Because it's almost like you're going face to face with, you've reached a point where something inside of you is saying, it goes into this week's inspirational quote. I feel like something inside of you is saying, look, you're doing the wrong, you're doing too much, but you might also be doing the wrong thing. So you start sort of thinking, is what I'm doing what I want to be doing? So I love making videos, but I want to be doing more different things. So that's going to be in the future. I'm going to try to do one for November, because I need to do a little bit of planning before I get it, because I want to somehow get sort of footage into it. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a podcast episode. That might be better, actually. Make it a podcast episode. No, I think it needs to be a video. That's what I mean. I still need to talk about it. But that is coming soon. I can't wait for that. It's going to be exciting. And I think that's the thing. You need to be doing things that you're excited for. So I love doing these art books. But I noticed I was getting into a place where I was just doing the art books. And I wasn't even thinking. If you keep doing the same thing all the time, I feel like you get a bit sort of bored, maybe. Yeah. So I'm going to start mixing up my video a bit more on my YouTube, but also I'm going to start sprinkling in things I love. So something I struggled with for a few years was, because I like posing for photos and taking photos, but I also like drawing, but I also love video games. So I've been trying to suppress the video games, because I've still got inside of me this feeling that it's a bad thing. But I just can't work out whether it is a bad thing or not. So something I did hit, I got little notes here. Something I did was I wrote down video games, positives and negatives. And I'm still going through it, but very quickly I compiled a list of positives and negatives. So I'm trying to work out because I can't work out, what happens is, for me at least, I get voices in my head, like a negative one and a positive one. And I feel like sometimes the negative one can disguise itself as a positive. Yeah. But also so you don't know sometimes whether the positive is positive or if it's a negative pretending to be positive. And it's such a subtle thing. You have to really sort of sit with it. And you can feel it. This is, again, goes into the meditation. Sometimes you won't even be thinking about it, but in the meditation, it will come to you. Yeah, so what I've put here for the video games, trying to work out what's going on. Positives, problem solving. I feel like I'd like to make a podcast just about video game. I think I will. Yeah, I think I'm going to make an episode talking about video games, positives and negatives. But off the top of my head, I put problem solving, like Portal 2. So there's a video game called Portal 2, and what you do on that is you've got these two guns, and one of them fires like a portal, which you can go into, and the other gun fires a portal that you'll come out of. So if you go into one, say you put a portal on a wall, and you put the other one on the ceiling, if you walked through the one that you put on the wall, you would fall out of the ceiling. So you can, that game's got some amazing puzzles, because, like, for instance, you'll come into a massive room, and you can see that you need to get up to the top of the thing, but you can't get up there because it's miles away. So what you have to do is, but then if you put a portal down here where you are, and fire one over there, you can, like, teleport yourself. So the puzzles are amazing on that. And then I started thinking to myself, well, these problem solving skills, they're brilliant for, like, websites, creating art, and even just life in general. But like for the website, the thing with the website is you're constantly facing problems, really. Yeah. And the thing is with the website and with everything, I think there's multiple ways to solve it. Yeah, so, and that's the thing, with Portal it's the same thing, with video games it's the same thing. It just makes you think differently. Yeah, I suppose video games make you think outside the box, and then because you're thinking like that, what I've noticed is when I do like my website or something, or drawings, you have an ability to be able to think about things. So what happens is if you come up against something that's like you're stuck with it, like a real problem, yeah, instead of throwing in the towel, I suppose, the website, it trains you to just keep trying, keep thinking, keep experimenting, and in the end you'll find a way. So I love that about that. I think I would say maybe that is the best thing about video games. The other thing is story and characters, which comes into inspiration, because the thing with video games is you can read a book, you can watch a film, but when you're playing a video game, you're actually in the game. That's what EA says. Electronic Arts. EA Sports. It's in the game. I think they used to say that. I don't think they say that anymore. But like, so you're in this world. You're in the world. That's the thing. Yeah, and the next thing I've put is immersion. So the immersion, it means you're connecting with the characters way more than you ever would with like a book or something. So I love that. And again, that's going to come back into your art, because you're connecting with these characters, so it comes into your art. I've also put relaxing, because again, you've got all the different types of video games. Some of them are just like, there's a game called Journey. All you're doing there is you're just walking through this beautiful world, and they're very relaxing, some games. So the next one I've put is escaping reality. So sometimes you do just need to escape. Yeah, you do. You could even argue that meditation is a way of escaping, really. Because what Muji, the spiritual master, what he says is, when he starts his meditations, he always says, leave the past, leave the future, leave your life at the door. So walk through the door and leave behind everything. So when you're lying there, you're not thinking about what happened yesterday. You're not thinking about any potential things you're worrying about in the future. You forget it all. You leave it. So when you're meditating, you're just silent. Well, this is like video games. So in a weird way, some video games is like a form of meditation, because you just go into because it's immersion. You go into it. Yeah, you get lost in it. So I do like that. But then I've put here, well, this is a positive, even though it seems like a negative, which is, I've put bad for you with the violence. Yeah, especially growing up, like when Grand Theft Auto first came out and stuff, everyone made a big fuss about the violence and stuff. But I've put here, news is worse. Yeah, the ironic thing about this is, the people who were saying, video games are violent, which was the older generation when I was a child, they were actually the ones looking at the news. And the thing is, the news is infinitely more negative, and in actual fact, video games are not really that negative. If you actually play the video games, you'll realise that most of them are actually very peaceful, fun, creative. They're positive. So they're only bad for you if you become addicted to them. And something I've noticed, and I noticed this about a year ago, I'm not addicted to video games. I'm addicted to buying video games. And it's still the same thing. So I've started playing my Vita this week, more than just a Saturday, because normally I'd only play it on a Saturday. But I've said, because I just finished a Draw a Day challenge, I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow myself to play video games. But what I've done is, I've noticed I'm spending more time looking at video games to buy than I am actually playing them. And it's crazy. And the thing is, even though I'm super aware of what's going on, I can't, at the moment, I can't seem to do anything. So it's almost like this desire to look at video games, the feeling, the thoughts of saying, go and have a look at another video game. It's so strong. It's weird, because I do feel like I'm separate from it. I can see that I'm not that thought. But the thing is, it feels like that thought is more bigger, it's powerful. Yeah, it's. I feel like I can't, but I can, but I can't. Yeah, because I know if I could just. What happens is, the thought says, go and have a look at a video game, because I'm trying to buy a PS3. Because I want to get a PS3 so I can play Gran Turismo, because I love that game. So I'm looking at these, and what it says is, it says keep looking. There's an element of truth in it. Again, it's this thing of, it is truth, but there's also, it's this, because I'm trying to work out, is it trying to make me look at video games to make me waste money, or is it a positive thing? Because it is, if I keep looking at these video games, I will find a cheap one, like a PlayStation. So there is a bit of wisdom there. It's very hard though, but it's draining. Yeah, the thoughts are draining. I've noticed that. And then the other thing I put on a positive is social. So again, growing up, they always said, like my dad and the older generation, they always said, video games are bad for you because it makes you like a loner and stuff. But I've been really thinking about this. Every single video game like generation, because I've had about 25, 30 years of it, every generation, it's actually been a social thing. So the first one, it was social because me and my sister connected. The second one, it was social because I'd play video games with my cousin up in London. Every time we went to London, and that was fun. That's some of my funnest memories. And then after that, I went to, then it was social because I connected with somebody at work. Because I had like social anxiety at college, but I connected with somebody at college about a video game. Then I went to uni, and we connected there because I actually had an N64 with 4 controllers, so it would actually get us together. Yeah, and then when I was at my other job, which was 12 years, I was in a group where we played video games, so we were all connected there. So I'm actually thinking to myself, that was actually a lie. Yeah, so there's a lot of lies inside of my head from my childhood that video games are bad, and I'm noticing that they are lies. But the thing is, there's something inside of me, it still believes it. So now I'm still left with this feeling of guilt. Yeah, playing video games, I still feel guilty, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. It's really weird, and it's annoying because you can see what's happening, but at the moment I can't. But the good thing is, because I can see that because I'm separate from it, it obviously means that I'm making progress. Because before, I wouldn't have even been able to observe this. I would have just been consumed by it. The thing is, I can't let it become another cycle, because the cycle has always been buy a load of video games, feel guilty because I've bought a load of video games, and then get rid of them. And then about a year later, I want to play video games again. So then you're going through the same thing again, but you're buying everything back that you had before. So you're just wasting money, wasting so much time. Whereas if you could just somehow stop yourself selling it all, and just say, right, this next few months I don't need to play video games, but keep them, and then when the freedoms come back, you can just jump straight in. You don't have to waste your time, and then maybe that will stop you feeling guilty. That's the thing. But the little negative things I got here is so this is negatives about video games. I've put addiction, but then I've put here, so is Netflix. Yeah, so is anything. I did an episode about this. I'll put a link in the show notes. I did an episode just about addiction, and I realised everything has the potential to become addictive. Yeah, there's nothing that can't be addictive. Eating chocolate, you could, even meditation in a way, you could become addicted to meditating. So it's a really good thing, meditating. If you become addicted to it, it could actually become a negative, because it's all of a sudden you're not doing anything else in your life. So that is a negative, but that's more sort of, I feel like even if you stopped yourself playing video games, you'll just become addicted to something else, because there's something else going on there. That addiction, it's just, video games is the way it shows itself, but I think that it's deeper than that. The other thing is escaping reality, but I also put that in a positive. So again, sometimes you don't want to escape reality, you have to face it. So it's this thing of you got to kind of you got to make sure you're not playing video games to run away from something. Yeah, so I kind of like that. Distracting. Yeah, they're definitely distracting. Definitely. They can definitely be distracting. But again, this is where it comes into discipline. So what I did was, every Saturday, I have about 2 hours in the evening where I play video games. The rest of the week, I'm not playing video games. It's only for the moment I'm playing video games because I'm having a bit of a rest, because I finished the Draw Day challenge, and I've noticed I got a bit burnt out. It just really hit me. It just hit me last week. Was it last week? I think it was. Yeah, it's as if somebody got a baseball bat or something and whacked me around the head. And I think what happened was, it's when you stop doing something, it's only then you realise just how draining it must have been, or something like that. Yeah. What's the other negative here? Solitary. So this goes in. This is like the juxtaposition with social, because video games are super social, but there is a danger. There is a danger that they can become like solitary thing, where so you could potentially become a bit of a loner, especially if you're playing like a Japanese RPG. But even that, if you do it the right way, you can still make it social. For instance, you could be, say, playing a Japanese role-playing game, like 100 hours of it a month or something, but if you're also in a community talking about that Japanese role-playing game, you're still sort of being social. So it's balance. That's what I'm noticing. It's balance. Because what I've noticed is a lot of these positives have a negative attached to them. Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's getting the balance between, well, this goes into the addiction thing, getting the balance between playing them but not being consumed by them. So I'm still trying to work through this process. It's very messy, I suppose. What have I put here? So this is the other things I've put. The issue is not playing but buying. If I allow myself a few weeks off to play games, I end up spending more time looking at games to buy. And I've put why. What is going on? And I've said it ends up making me feel guilty, and I end up selling it all, repeating the cycle. And I've put it, wish I didn't sell my PS3 and PS4. And I've put, I will not do it again. The thing is, I said I wouldn't do it again last time, and I did. So this time I've got to really say to myself no, because I know at some point in the future what'll happen is, at some point I'll say, right, it's time to stop playing these video games now. But I've got to say no, don't get rid of them all, keep them. Yeah, you've got to get discipline is more important than getting rid of them. It's kind of the same thing as escaping reality. Yeah, it's like selling everything is almost like a form of escaping reality. Whereas if you played a video game but you're aware that you're escaping reality, you wouldn't keep playing the video game. You would be able to get the balance. If you can not sell the video games, I think there's a place where you can have the video games, and you can, there's a place where everything is all balanced. So you're playing games when you want, you're drawing when you want. And again, there's ways to bring everything together. I've got to really work this one out, because I can't keep having this cycle going on. It's been going on for a few years now. I've got to do something about it. And I do think it's something to do with burnout, because I was trying to think to myself, why did I suddenly get this urge to play video games? And it's because what happened was I said I'm going to have a few weeks off, because I haven't had any time off for ages, where I've just not done anything. Every day for the last few years, I suppose, I've always had, every day I've always had something planned. So I said, no, I'm not going to plan nothing. And then what happened was I wanted to play video games. So obviously there is something inside of me that really wants to play video games, needs to play video games. And I feel like video games are an important part of my future. I keep getting that. What have I put here? I've put here, look, video games are fine if you have the balance. I've put balance is hard, and I've put playing is fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with playing video games. It's just getting the balance. It's really hard. And then I've put here bad habits. I've put they snowball, because one of my bad habits at the minute is looking. Oh, this is amazing. This is, yeah. One of my bad habits is looking at. One of my bad habits is buying things, and like getting addicted to buying things. And I spoke to my mum about this, because she's got it as well. And what happens is I become addicted to buying stuff for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden I'll stop, and I'll go months without. And it's not just video games, because I've noticed it with my art books. I'll go through like a few weeks of just buying art books, even though I've got loads of them. There's something about it. I love it. I do like it. There's something about looking on eBay and trying to find a really cheap book, because I know the value of art books and the value of video games. It's like you're hunting for these little treasures, like cheap things. Yeah, and it's almost. I imagine it's a bit like fishing. You're going fishing. You're sitting there waiting. Suddenly you get the fish. There must be an excitement there, and then you pull the fish out. No sooner have you got the fish, you're going back in for another one. It's that same thing. It's like you're looking for this book. You're looking for an art book, and then you see this art book, and it's a good price. You grab it, and as soon as you got that, I'm looking at another one. Same with the video games. I'll find a cheap video game, I get it, and then I want another one. Like, yes, the other day I went into, there's a shop called CEX, which sells really cheap video games. I went in there, I bought about 5 PS3 games. They're all about £1 each. This is why it's amazing. This is why I thought I'd go to the PS3 instead of PS4, because everything's so cheap. And there's loads of games on that I didn't play, or that I'm halfway through and stuff. So I thought, right, I'll go for the PS3. So I bought about 5 games, and I come out, and as I was coming out, I got all these games, and I thought, I want to get this one as well. And I thought to myself, it was as if I was observing myself. I sort of said, hang on a minute, you've just bought 5 video games here. Instead of being happy that you got these, you're already thinking about getting another one. And then I realised then I could buy 1,000 video games, and I'd always want another one. So there's something in that. There's something in that, and it's not. Video games are just the way it's manifesting itself. And so, like, even if I stop buying art books, stop buying video games, there's something inside of me that would end up buying something else. So it comes back to the thoughts again. It's the thoughts saying, you need another one, or what about this one? So what you've got to do is you've got to somehow say no. You've got to start listening to what's going on in your head. I think that's the only way you're going to sort it out. It sounds a bit like you're going crazy, but you're not though. The thing is, you're actually more not crazy when you start listening to your mind. So I feel like you go through a phase of, some people would look at you and think you're going crazy, talking to yourself and stuff. But you're not talking to yourself. You're just analysing what's going on, because you're starting to observe. You're starting to become aware of all these thoughts, I think. So whereas before, all the thoughts were there, but they were just going unnoticed. Yeah. So when you start noticing and realising what's going on, the thing is, because they've been going on for so long, 40 years, I've probably had thoughts in my head saying, buy video games or something. Yeah, so you're trying to stop 40 years worth of momentum. So that's why it's so hard. Yeah, it's like, that's probably why it feels like it's so much bigger than you, the thought. It's just because it's got more momentum. It goes back in, so I put Bad Habits Snowball. I think that goes into, that's the same thing. I think the reason they snowball is because it's almost like inside of you is like a little, I almost imagine it as like a little path. There's like a little path in your head of like a negative bad habit. And when you stop doing it, the dirt starts to cover up that path. But if something happens which triggers it and you start doing it again, like I imagine like a little ball rolling down the path, and it's going from the top, and when it reaches the bottom, it's creating an action, and that's you buying the video game. But the thing is, because that path has been covered by dirt, it still exists though. So that as soon as that ball starts rolling, the path's already there. So the ball quickly comes down, and then the next one comes, and now all of a sudden you've got to stop the balls rolling. Yeah, and cover the path up again. So I feel like that is why, as soon as you do something, yeah, the bad habit, or even just a habit, it snowballs like that. And I've also put here Bad Habits Association. I've put, I didn't do the other thing. So the thing that I thought was amazing was, it all started about, I think it was Sunday last week. I was lying in bed and I got this thought of basically getting a PS3. And what happened was I looked on Gumtree, which is a little website for second-hand things. And as the website was loading on my phone, a thought went into my head and said, well, there's the thought that said, go and have a look for PS3s, right? So the website was loading for about 20 seconds. During that time, a thought came in and said, are you sure you want to do this? If you do this, there will be consequences. And that was amazing. It felt like, to me, I was sort of observing two thoughts interacting with each other. One was saying, go and have a look at PS3s. There was this other one that said, there's going to be consequences here. And I was in the middle and I could decide. And I said, I'm going to have a look. So I made the choice. Now, what's amazing is, ever since then, it's just become like an addiction, looking at these video games. And I just remembered that. That was really powerful, because I knew in that moment it would have been very easy for me to not have a look. But now it's quite hard for me to not have a look, because again, the momentum's built up. But I love that, because I've never had that before. I've never had a thought sort of come into my head saying, it's almost like there was something saying, are you sure you want to do this? And I did want to do it, so I did it, which is cool. And I put here, association, eating crap, no meditation, bed late, distracted mind. What I've noticed is, is little things all start happening. It's almost like, I said I'm going to have a week off, so I started eating chocolate. What did I eat? Oh yeah, I got a free chocolate bar at work. So I ate this chocolate bar, and then I started eating cookies and cream magnums, which is not ice lolly. And what I noticed was, all of a sudden, a little bad habit like that, I started eating biscuits. And then all of a sudden, it becomes much easier to do all these other bad things. And then all of a sudden, I'm not meditating, because instead of meditating, I'm looking at video games to buy. And then I'm going to bed late, which is interfering with my lucid dreaming. And I've also got a distracted mind, because all I'm thinking about is these video games. I'm almost obsessed with trying to find a PS3. So it's mental. But yesterday's meditation was amazing, because I meditated and I said, right, I'm going into this meditation and I'm not gonna let any thoughts come in. Well, they come in, but I just let them float about, like what Muji said. And what started happening was, I started getting this energy thing. I love it. I've seen it many times. I haven't seen it a lot lately. But what happened was, it's like a ring of energy flows from, where does it go? Sometimes it's as if it's coming out of me, up like that, up into the sky, and another times it's as if it's coming out of the sky into me. But all I think it is it's energy floating about. I think it's your energy's floating around. I love that. And then I was really going into a nice place, and my landlord knocked on the door. That happened last time. I was in a really very peaceful place, and my landlord knocked on the door. That was quite funny, quite weird, that. So I feel like things I'm learning is the power of meditation, but also the power of negative thoughts, I suppose, or the power of thoughts, because they're not necessarily negative. It's incredible how hard it is to resist thoughts. Yeah, but yet the weird thing is, I can see that it's not hard at all. Because the thing is, if there's a moment where you can say that this is a thought that I can resist, even though it feels like you can't, the fact that you can say to yourself, I can resist this, it means you can. It's really weird. I do like it though. There's something about this is brilliant, and I am absolutely convinced. I'm convinced that I'm going to have video games in my future in a balanced way. I know I can do it because for the last 6 months I've only played them on a Saturday. Yeah, and I think the problem is, it goes back to association. I think I've associated the addiction to buying things with video games. So because I end up getting rid of everything, it stops me being able to play video games. So I now think, the video games are bad, but in actual fact it is buying things. So I'm going to do an experiment now. I'm going to get my little PS3. I'll let myself have a few weeks to just play on it, relax. And then I'm going to then get it back to a Saturday only, playing video games on a Saturday. And I'm not going to sell anything. So if a thought comes in and says, get rid of everything, I'm going to say no. I'm going to remember to say no. And I'll keep it. And then next time when it comes back again, I'm going to let them back in. Yeah, and then I'll be able to see if the problem is the addiction to buying things. It's a little experiment. I think sometimes you've got to do that. Oh, but look, I've got a little controller, a PS4 controller, because I thought to myself, what I'll do is, because I thought, right, I'm going to get a PS3, but I thought I don't want to spend too much money here. And the thing is, I'm still subscribed to this thing called PlayStation Now. I've got until Christmas for that. And what it is you can play about 1,000 different PlayStation games on your PS4. But if you've got a controller, you can also play it on the PC. So I thought, right, what I'll do is, I'll get a little controller, 30 quid, and it'll be a cheap way for me to be able to play a load of video games. Problem is, it didn't really work properly on the PC. If I try to stream a PS4 game, it just doesn't work. It's unplayable. PS3 games are alright. So I managed to play a game called Puzzle Agent. It's a very slow-paced game. So that worked quite nicely, actually. and also, what's cool about that is, you can actually sync these controllers up with the PS3. Yeah, and you can also play them on the PS5. So if you ever got a PS5, you can. So I feel like that's a good investment. That just getting a controller because it's Bluetooth. But that's basically the end of that one. Oh, I thought this was going to be a little tiny one, but it's just like little Dennis's willy. It's a big one. He's got a big willy today. Oh, we didn't have any kitty kisses. I wonder when she's going to have her little kids. Kitty's kids. Kitty's kids. Kitty's kiddies. What have we got here? This week's little inspirational quote. I love this. I hope you like this podcast, eh? Like I said, it was all over the place. I'm definitely going to do one episode dedicated to the positive and negatives of video games, but I'm going to properly sit down and write out the list, because this was just like a 2-minute job off the top of my head. But I feel like the best way to process things is to write it down, and write down what you're feeling. It's something I've got to do at the moment, because I've got potentially a big change in my life about to happen, and I'm conflicted. This is another thing. I think that's distracting me as well. Yeah, there's something going on in my life behind the scenes. So there's lots of things, I suppose. But that's basically it. This week's little inspirational quote, I love this. It's by Marissa Mayer. And it says, I have a theory that burnout is about resentment, and you beat it by knowing what it is you're giving up that makes you resentful. So, it's weird. Sometimes as I'm talking, I'm also talking in my head. It's almost like I can talk and talk in my head at the same time. It's a bit weird, that. It's quite cool though, because you can have two conversations at the same time. It's quite cool. Because what I was thinking was, I was thinking that I didn't really talk enough about burnout. So maybe I need to do a separate episode on burnout. But what I was thinking was, I think to myself, if I give up video games, I can give up the video games for a certain amount of time, but because I shouldn't be giving the video games up, because there's nothing wrong with them, that ends up creating a burnout, I think. Yeah, something going on there. But it's to do with, if all I'm doing is, again, videos, I think I'm spending too much time making videos. Yeah, definitely. So again, it's this thing of trying to work out, getting the balance. Because what I've started doing is I've started recording loads of videos at the same time. And then what I can do is I can basically get a month's worth of videos done in like a week. And that's working quite well. But I want to mix them up. Definitely want to start mixing the videos up. What I need to do is I need to just sit down and ask myself, what do I want to be doing? It also gets into that website. I don't want to do that website anymore. I feel like the universe gave me this gift when it corrupted my website, and I should have run off. I should have left it then and run off. Yeah, but instead I tried to build it back up again. But I don't think I want to do that. Well, I do. This is the thing. I want my website finished, but I don't want to go through the process. I don't like the process of creating websites. I can do it for so much, but like the burnout thing, I think I've reached a point where I just need a rest from the website. But it's really annoying that I haven't finished it yet, because I really wanted it finished by next year, like 2021. Because what I'm going to do is, once I've got it finished, it's going to be so easy to just keep on top of it. But it's one of those things, it's like I don't really enjoy the process of doing it. Well, I do and I don't. So I need a rest from it. So basically that's it though. So I love that little quote. I think there's a lot of like wisdom in that. I have a theory that burnout is about resentment, and you beat it. This is why you need to write about it. Yeah, writing about stuff. That's the best way. I found that's the best way to process. Well, two ways. One is to write about it. So just write on a piece of paper whatever you're struggling with. Write it down. And then the other thing is meditation, because when you're meditating, you're not thinking about it, and it's when you start thinking about it that the answer comes to you. But I do think you need to think about it before the answer will come to you. Yeah, so again, it's this balance thing. It's this balance thing of working out what's going on, and then also letting go, so it sorts itself out. Everything's about balance. noticing that. I have a theory that burnout is about resentment, and you beat it by knowing what it is you're giving up that makes you resentful. Marissa Mayer. Little Dennis, little Dennis. Oh, ruff, 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 ruff. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Ruff, 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 ruff. Ruff.